grow the sport in our country and develop our players as well.
How was the feel of today's game different compared to?
Well, the field was a hell of a lot better than the one in Spartan Stadium. No one was running into walls. I think the field was like 60 yards wide. It had a big crown on it. But that was the start to the league. We didn't, in a lot of ways, we didn't know any better. But, so that's progress. You just look at some of these stadiums and facilities in the league today. It's fantastic. And I would imagine we're going to continue to have some kind of expansion, probably in a smaller degree, and finally be settled into a plan as to how we move forward after the World Cup and all. But it's been a real challenge, and the support from, I said this the other day, the support that Lamar Hunt and Robert Kraft and Phil Anschutz gave this league in tough times kept it afloat. And that's a big story, which no one even talks about, but that's a big story. And got to give those gentlemen a lot of credit. And today we have great ownership.
Joe's quick episode. You mentioned the score maybe was a little lopsided. And yeah, there were a few goals at the end there, but your team looked very on poised in that first 30 minutes. What was it about this DC team that you felt you could take it?
Well, the DC team, I think the first 10 minutes of the game had an advantage on us. I thought they came out well. They pressed us up high. Second half, they started and got a real good chance. So, that it could have been 3-2. And then you see people get a little nervous at that point. So, I think the score line's a little unfair. But, they're a team that, they'll be fine as they move forward. A starting point to have the best goal scorer in the league doesn't hurt you. So I think they're gonna find ways to win games and be very competitive.
Hey,
Bruce, what are you learning about managing a striker like Joseph, and what pleased you the most about how he got his goals there?
Well, Joseph's a 9. He's a pure 9, and he has a great nose to the goal. I think some of our issues in our first 6 games, well, Joseph missed one of the games with international duty. We haven't found him. We haven't noticed some of the runs he's made, and today it was a little bit clearer to our players. So he's getting some chances, and he scored 3 goals. Could have had a 4th one right at the end. So that's a real positive. I've been around players like Joseph in my career, so I have a good sense of how they're thinking. I said to him the other day, he's saying I'm not getting the ball enough. I said, well, we don't have Lionel Messi playing on this team. And he said, I never scored a goal from Lionel Messi. So I said, that's good. And player, I had Marco Echeverri here this weekend, who I absolutely love, and one of the greatest players in the history of this league. And I talked to him about some of his counterparts in South America. So I love these players. They come here and they really buy into the league. So it's to have those kind of players.
A quick follow-up. Someone like Bo LaRue, how he stormed onto the scene. Do you think he would have been discovered in 96, 95, whenever he started?
He probably would have been playing American football. He's 21 years old, so he wasn't even born then. But a local kid that probably, and I don't know the full story with our academy and all, but I think he got pushed out at some point. I don't know the full story, but he's a talented kid, and he gets a little bit more experience. He's going to be a real good player.
Oscar was a player who he usually played as a fullback, but he played very well tonight, in my opinion. What do you see in him?
Again, remember, this is we've been together for 3 months as a team. I don't know them completely. They don't know me. But as I watch Oscar all the time, I just said last week, this guy's a 6'8". He's not a wing back. He's not a right back. He's got a lot of energy. He's got a pretty good feel. He had some very good passes today. So I think we're going to continue to look at him there. He's a talented kid. I think he's 18, 19 years old. Again, they're very ambitious. They want to play right away, but we got to be a little bit patient. But to have Nico on the field today at 19, 20 years old, to have Oscar on at 18, to have the LaRue on at 21. That's a positive statement, and the fact that we have some experienced international players that help move them along is a positive. So we'll see. It's going to be a little bit like this. It's not going like that. It's going to be good times and bad times, and we're just going to try to make things better. That's all we can do. We'll try to work hard every day and try to get better.
Jeff Weister, we'll go back to Christian.
Coach, rather than win, we talked the last couple of weeks about just not being able to find the back of the net the way you guys wanted to. How does a win like this kind of continue to build confidence, especially going forward?
Well, I would say that Monday next Saturday will be a good test to see where we are when we play, one of the better teams in the league, obviously, and on the road. And that'll be challenging. So we'll see what kind of progress we're making. The last road trip didn't go real well. So let's see how we're ready to play this game in Los Angeles.
Follow-up also today. Did that take a weight off his shoulders, so to say?
Yeah, I think so. No different than this is a basketball season right now. Basketball players scoring points and making confidence, and need breakers to have confidence. That's positive.
Bruce, when you talked about the future of this league, how there's still such an opportunity for growth. When you look at this stadium, look at how fans showed up today. What do you think? Do you think MLS can challenge the big four leagues in the U.S. for supremacy? What do you think is the potential in 10 years or 30 years?
Well, I will never say this, never mention this person's name, but years of the MLS could suppress. That was more related to maybe even a safety issue than that. But about in the 70s, I had one of my friends is an NFL Hall of Famer, and he started understanding soccer a little bit, but most of the athletes in this league never and in this country never accepted, and now everyone's bought into the sport. I think Beckham helped it for sure, but soccer is recognized as really a major sport now in our country. There's 5 majors, and not 4 anymore. There's 5. So that's a positive. We're making progress, but we're different in every country in the world. So we're not in a country where it's football and what's the other, cricket, right? We have a lot of competition. So that's the way it is in this country. You can't operate thinking you have to be number one. You got to operate thinking that you're part of the sports entertainment business.
Brian and Paul will call.
So kind of lost in all the offense today was really the play of Daniel in that back line, where especially the double save, I think 52.
Big play.
Yeah, 52 on
3-2 people. So yeah, he's a very good goalkeeper. If he maintains the consistency in the goal, he'll be among the best keepers in the league.
And how is his leadership back there kind of directing the back line as well as Bruno and then Romney? How are they learning?
It's good. He can be a little bit more vocal. We still have a few language barriers at times. No issues with Bruno or Dave, but Rodriguez a little bit. And it's getting better. This is still, we're in the early going here. We don't know. Well, hopefully that it all adds up in the end. We have a good team. That remains to be seen. But then he's a very talented goalkeeper.
That's what Paul.
Paula Maruiz, 10 a.m. Bruce, congratulations for the victory. How would you remember, how are you going to remember this anniversary game in the future with 6 goals? Thank you so much.
Well, it's a good memory for sure. And I know this was we had a dinner last night with some of the former DC United and San Jose players, and it was 30 years ago. And if I recall properly, what the game looked like 30 years ago and looks like today on the field, the actual technical part, it's night and day. And to see the progress in the league is remarkable. And it's something, I didn't spend a whole lot of time thinking about because I'm an idiot probably half the time. And I was away from the league for 9 years with the national team, so I wasn't always in the in and outs of MLS. And but when you get back into it and you see the progress and the talented players around the league, it's a real positive. And to see that owners are now interested in investing not only in facilities but players, and trying to have a reasonable business plan to make the thing move forward in the right way. So it's been tremendous to see the growth of the league, and today for all of us, even DC United, I know they can't be pleased walking away losing the game today, but it's progress, and I think we need to be pleased with that.
Last one.
The DC United, Andrew, did this game bring up any emotions? Were you able to reconnect with anyone in particular?
Well, I was out last night with Marco Echeverry, John Hawks, Jeff Agus, and Sean Medved, and Troy joined us. He was at dinner, so that's a real positive. I've lived in Virginia the last 40, 50 years. So I lived in Northern Virginia, even with a national team coach. My main residence, Charlottesville, Virginia. So I'm around the DC United club in a little way, and they're my first team in this league. So I'll always have a special place in my heart for DC United. Yeah, I mean, we're at a point now we got to win games, so I can't worry about DC United on game day. Thanks.
Here. Hello, everyone. Belated welcome to the Aftershock. Wow, it is like really bright in here, and look, this is actually the first time we've started the show without having a proper intro, but Bruce Arena was already talking to the press down in the press conference room, so we wanted to make sure we got as much of that as possible out to you folks. 6 goals in A. This is the first time the Quakes have scored 6 goals in a game since 1999. They were actually the San Jose Clash, and this was against the Miami Fusion, a team that no longer exists.
Wow.
They won 6-1 in September. We're going to have to fact check Robert when he gets back, because we were having a conversation about this, and he seems to remember the Quakes scoring 6 goals at Buckshaw Stadium, but he might be thinking of something else, so we'll have to come back to that. But Joseph Martinez gets a hat trick in this match, scores in a variety of fashions. Let's talk about these goals first, Ane. The first one is off of a header in the build-up. He gets that first goal in such a Joseph Martinez fashion. The second one, chasing down the ball and winning it and allowing him to score. And then there was a later one in the 80th minute. That was the second one. And then the last one that we saw, which was the flick, or vice versa. I don't know. There was so much that happened during this game. I feel like I got everything scrambled. So
he almost got a fourth too.
I know it seemed like they were bound to score throughout the match, right? Yeah. Chicho and Joseph and just like all over the pitch, we saw an immense amount of contributions, an immense amount of variety and throughout the field. And we did see goals in different aspects too. Mm-hmm. Obviously not just Martinez. We saw Chicho Arango open up the match with that goal on the corner kick. We saw Christian Espinoza score later on. Glad that we're getting the comments here, because I haven't been able to see any of them during the match. I know some folks are probably excited that we're doing this live here at PayPal Park, which is always a lot more fun. But what are your general takeaways here, Ane? Your initial thoughts?
I mean, great day at PayPal Park. I like this Sunday day format. I think it's cool to have the games on Sunday. Gives people time on the weekends to do whatever they want. But hey, I think we're going.
Hey, we're already going to Joseph Martinez.
All right, we're here for the second part of today's post-game press conference. We're joined by forward Joseph Martinez, who made MLS history today, passing Bradley Wright Phillips for 6th on the all-time list with 118, 119, and 120 goals. We'll start first with a question from Carla, ESPN.
Joseph, obviously a huge day for you. Overall, how do you feel like the process of getting to know this team, getting to know your teammates, getting them familiar with how you play, how they play? How do you think that process is going?
They take maybe 7 games to be a sharp. Today is a special, man, and it's not because the 3 goals is because my son was here. That's the most important for me. Um, we work a lot this weekend. We push a lot. We deserve it this game. The last 2 games at home, we don't get the result what they wanted. But the most important, today is a special day for everyone, for the city, and we can do deserve it.
Next question. Everyone else?
So coming into this team, you probably had expectations on what it would be like to play with the likes of Arango and Espinoza. But how about the development of younger players in the field, feeding you some great balls? Just curious on the route.
The first day I come here, I was surprised how intensity they training. So I can understand why the last year they don't get the result. They are so bad because I saw young guys that push a lot, they work hard, and now you can see. This is it's today. Today everything is nice, everything is happy, but I saw every day the effort they put in the field, and we need to look forward and see what happens next week.
Christian, Babcock, where
Yes,
is this?
Spent a lot of your career in this league. I'm sure you've seen how it's grown. With this being, the 30th year celebration, the 29th anniversary celebration. What can you say about how far MLS has come, and how further do you think it can go in the next 10 years or 30 years?
Amazing. I come here in 2017, 2018, and still today it's another league. The level, the team come here to fight, to compete, bring important players every day or every game is cool. But I'm so happy to be here in this league for a long time. I'm happy to be in San Jose, and we look forward and still going.
3 more questions. We'll go with Marko Ikovic.
Joseph, you mentioned Austin in 7 games to guys to kind of play a complete game. Coming into the season, did you think it was going to take this many games, or did you guys maybe think it'd take a little longer, even maybe a little shorter for you and like Chicho, 2 guys who were brought in to increase the goal scoring here?
Maybe I know here because if I make one of the 4 chances I have with Colorado, the discussion is not that one. But today, because we won, we make a lot of good things. We score, so I can say they take 7 games. But the game before, we have a lot of chance. We don't make it. That's a frustrating for the striker because we need. But today we see we show another face with for you guys, for the fans come here, and for the league. So that's why I say we take 7 games for look better.
We go with Brian, Paula, and Edgardo. Go ahead.
Congratulations on the goals today. But it seemed like after the first goal, you kind of started playing with a lot more patience, including letting the play go where Bo got hammered in the box for the penalty kick. I mean, it was one where you just kind of let that go because it was okay. Did you feel a lot more patient after that first goal and kind of just like taking a breath and letting the game come to you?
Yeah, because we see in the video, DC United is a tough team, and maybe we didn't expect score that early, but the second one, third one go easy because they push a lot, they leave a lot of space for us, and we the moment we have a more patience with the ball, we create more chances. So maybe today is a good example, and we have to continue with that.
And just a quick follow-up there. When, with all the contributions he's been making to everybody on the offense, including you, how is the room feeling about Christian Espinoza finally getting that first goal this year?
When the penalty is, it was there, Chicho and myself, we discussed who taken, and then we don't want to fight, and we say, okay, Christian have the chance to score it too. And we live in. We have a lot of confidence in each other. We're not jealous who score. We're not. This is a team. Finally, in the end, it's a team. So if you score, we're happy. We're winning. We all together. So that's important for us.
Paula Ricardo, we'll call it.
Yo sé, Paula Maru, de desearle primero por felicitaciones por los 3 goles. ¿Qué significa celebrar esto con tu hijo? Vienes de jugar de Venezuela, pero algo que me llamó mucho la atención es que aparte que metiste 3 goles, tenías tu sentido de compañerismo con Arango cuando estaba en el piso, conectarte con él y seguir jugando. ¿Cómo fue ese estado mental para ti? Gracias y felicitaciones.
Gracias, mamá. Bueno, mi hijo es lo más importante que tengo, entonces me pone muy emocionante, entonces por eso no me gusta hablar mucho porque me pone a llorar. Somos un grupo. Yo necesito de Chicho, necesito de Cristian, todos necesitamos de todos. Al final, si uno hace gol, todos contentos. Si hacemos los dos, muchísimo más, mejor. Pero al final somos compañeros. No importa el resultado, no importa quién haga el gol. Para mí lo más importante es que mi compañero esté bien. Al final no son 8 juegos, 7 juegos, son 30 y pico juegos. Entonces, mientras él esté bien, mientras mis compañeros estén bien, ellos son los que me van a hacer gol. Así mismo.
Ricardo, last one.
Igual su papá.
Preguntarte por lo que significa volver a la selección después de tanto tiempo, lograr lo que han logrado y que hoy, un par de semanas luego, se traduzca también en tu mejor tarde en 7 fechas para esta camiseta.
Sí, fue un largo año no ir a la selección, volver a representar a tu país, lo más lindo. Tú mismo sabes, muchos años en esto, muchos años que nos conocemos y sabes lo importante que son estos últimos 4 partidos o estos últimos 6 partidos para nosotros. Y bueno, se ganó lo importante, más allá del resultado en Ecuador, sumar es lo más importante. Ahora pensar en el próximo, que va a ser Bolivia, que para nosotros es una final, y seguir paso a paso. Todavía tenemos que seguir y ver qué es lo que pasa al final.
Felicitaciones.
Chao, chicos, gracias.
Gracias.
Shit. There we go.
All right, we're back.
We're back now. Everybody can hear us.
Chaotic show today.
Oh my God, yeah, it's been wild. This has been a wild day here at PayPal all around. But yes, we are back now with the sound. And Nate, we're going back to your initial thoughts. Then we'll talk about the press conference. Go for it.
Yeah. I think. What was I saying? I thought there was like 2 bursts of energy for the Quakes in this game. The first one was early on, obviously. Things were clicking in the midfield. The attacking players were creating chances. Obviously, Joseph Martinez, Chicho Arango, Christian Espinoza. I said on the last show, those are the guys you need to shine in order for this team to perform. And then they got enough out of the defense, the midfield. So it was a really strong start. And then I think the wind kind of got knocked out of the game for a bit in the middle between halftime and maybe like the 75th minute. But then I think Bruce Arena made some really good subs that had a really positive impact on the game. Like there was just like it felt like a new level of energy there. And I think I'm about to be cut off again by Chris.
Oh, we have a
Scored a goal and had an assist. The goal was good enough to pass Landon Donovan for 4th on the all-time Quakes list with 33. So we will start first with a question from Jeff Carlisle.
Hello, Christian. I think it was July last year before you guys got your third win. You're already at 3 wins already. I mean, what have been the biggest areas of improvement in terms of this team for you? I mean, obviously you scored some goals today, but what areas do you think have really pushed this team to get off to such a better start this year?
Everywhere. We have improved a lot. I think it's very easy. It's very easy to compare last year with this year. I'm trying to look forward and just be focusing what we can do better from now in the future. So As I said before, for us is and for everybody, it's too easy to talk about last year because everything was last year. So I think this year the mentality was so different since the first day. Also having a Bruce as a coach who is such an important person in the league and also for the club, and all the achievement that he has as a head coach. So we knew that we had to be prepared to respond inside the field.
And just in terms of defensively, it seems like you guys are a lot more stable this year. I mean, what do you chalk that up to?
I think it's mentality. I'm gonna resume with mentality. When you have the right mentality in every game and every training session, then the things start to work in your favor.
Christian, what did it mean to you? Today was a very special game with it being the 29th anniversary of the start of MLS. What did it mean to you to be part of this game, and how do you think this league has grown? I mean, so many international players. Everyone who scored today was an international. Where do you see this league going in the future?
It's 30th anniversary, right? Or 20?
It's it's 30 years of MLS, and this is the 29th anniversary.
Okay. Yes, we knew that was such an important game. And for us, the most important thing was to keep the things in the same way that it started. The win stayed in San Jose. That was our mentality for today.
What was that? I mean, did you feel the occasion seemed like fans really came out to support? How do you think this league has grown from the start?
A lot. I think it's growing a lot. Obviously, if you see the league since the first day, I'm gonna talk about since 2019 when I arrived here. I think the league was growing a lot and in so many things. Especially the league is bringing a lot of young talent. The young talent are coming to this league to then do the next step, maybe to Europe or somewhere in the world. That is really important for us. Having the league doing that instead of just bring big star in the end of their career is, I think that was the first big step for the league.
With Paula and then Jeff.
Cristian, muy buenas tardes, felicitaciones por la victoria, 6 goles, tu gol. Ha sido una semana muy importante para ti, ¿no? Vino el Billboard, el cumpleaños. Qué importante es terminar este juego de aniversario con este resultado a nivel profesional y personal. Y feliz cumpleaños una vez más y gracias por eso.
Gracias, sí fue una semana bastante especial en todo sentido. Hay que siempre tratar de manejar las emociones bien. Siempre trato de mantener la cabeza fría, mantener los pies sobre la tierra, como decimos nosotros en Argentina. Lo dije un montón de veces y creo que lo voy a seguir diciendo hasta el final del torneo. No fuimos los mejores cuando empezamos ganando los 2 primeros partidos. Tampoco fuimos los peores cuando nos tocó perder. Hoy creo que el equipo en los últimos partidos, si bien los resultados no se daban, supo entender ese balance que hay que tener, mantener la gran mentalidad de seguir trabajando, de confiar cada vez más en cada uno de nosotros, y eso es lo que nos dio el poder llegar bien a este partido.
We'll go Jeff, Robert, and then Mr. Wynn.
I guess first, guys, in the win. Last couple weeks, I think we talked about it before, not being able to find back in that team, kind of struggling to score those chances. How big was a day like today needed for you guys, just from a mental standpoint of building back that confidence of being able to score, especially taking this now to LA, which is a much different than easy.
I think in the moments that we were struggling to take advantage of the situation of goal that we create, we keep working really hard during the weeks, and I think that's the starting point for us. Every time that something is not working out is when you more have to work, and I think that we collectively and individually that we were improving a lot in the last weeks.
Robert. The team's found a lot of success with set pieces. You had another one tonight, your assist on Chicho's goal. What is the team doing to produce so much success on set pieces, whether it be training or mentality or both?
I think it's the confidence. They they know that the ball gonna get in the spot that they want the ball, and it's all about the confidence and trust in each other. I trust in my teammates' movements, and they trust in that I gonna hit the proper ball in the space that they need.
And related, whose decision was it for the penalty kick tonight? Did you step up and say it's mine?
We just stuck in the moment because now we have a Joseph and Chicho to take care of the PKs. But in the moment, I felt really confident to take it and ask him if they let me take the PK, and they were really open to let me take it, and obviously I'm really thankful for them.
Kevin, and then back to Christian.
And Christian, Joseph mentioned that he had no problems like giving you the PK. They wanted to see you succeed. What have you noticed about fitting him and Chicho into the team? They're two big personalities.
I think every time that we have big players like them, all the team have to use to know them, what they need inside the field, what they need also outside the field. And I think with the time, with the training session during preseason, we were improving a lot in our relationship inside and outside the field. So that was really important for us.
Ricardo, and then Christian.
Cristian,
Hola.
te quería preguntar, Cristian, no sé si conoces la expresión allá nuestra, alguien tiene que pagar los platos rotos, ¿no? Digo, de las decepciones que a veces se sufren, llevando un partido adelante, que te lo empaten, que todo lo que eso genera, y bueno, y hoy que todos los factores fueran tan positivos y se dieran como ha sido justamente el partido.
Sí. Yo creo que hoy hubo montones de cosas positivas en el equipo. Salimos con la mentalidad, como dije antes, de mantener las cosas como se habían iniciado hace 30 años atrás o 29. Y esa fue la mentalidad que tuvimos durante toda la semana. Saber que era una fecha muy importante para la liga, para el club, y teníamos que salir a responder, especialmente porque veníamos de 3-4 partidos sin victorias, entonces sabíamos que teníamos que volver otra vez sobre ese paso de victorias, y hoy creo que dimos un gran paso adelante y tenemos que seguir trabajando.
Christian, I don't know if you knew or if they, told you that the first game ever in MLS was, 1-0, very late goal. Today you guys, a lot less drama. You get 3 early goals, you get 3 late goals. How fun is it just to be able to celebrate the occasion and, not have to worry about, you pretty much have the game in hand and you can kind of just soak it in?
Yes, it's very special. I mean, in football, you never know what's going to happen. The game is 90 minutes plus another extra some minutes that the referee always give. And you have to be focused the entire time. And in 3-0, by the end of the first half, they score a goal, and I put them in a good position to fight for the game again. We won it. So in the second half, we came out of the field knowing that they're gonna push the game, and we have to be ready to respond, and that's what we did.
How fun is it when one of your teammates gets a hat trick?
It's amazing. I always enjoy when I see my teammates score, and obviously even more when I can help them.
The last questions. All right, one from Brian, one from Abram will call.
So how has your defensive progression and the progression of the defense this year compared to last year, especially with the way that Daniel's been playing this first part of the season? How important is that to even get better at that, moving on, especially going into LA, who are not going to get a walkover with you guys today?
Yeah, as I said before, we were improving a lot in so many things. I think the compactness of the team is really important, to keep all the lines together. And when you move as a team and you keep the shape and really tight between lines, that don't let the other teams to play in between you. So sometimes you need to sacrifice yourself, run a little bit more, and that's what that we demand inside the field for each other.
That's one, Abram.
Congratulations on the win. So in this system, you and Bo LaRue have to play very close to each other. He's just starting his first year in MLS, play. How do you feel that he's progressing, and how is that connection between you two?
Of Bo, I am teaming with Bo since maybe 2 years now. He was not part of the first team last year and the previous years, but we were training together, and I see right away the quality of player that he is. And now he has a chance to show in every single weekend, and he's doing an amazing job, and he become, I think, in a really important piece for this team.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We're small again. Okay.
There we go. All right, Ane, let's try this again. A lot of good stuff. There are a lot of great questions from the press today in the press conference. Ane, going back to your thoughts here.
Yeah, I think there were two big bursts of energy for the Quakes this game. One at the beginning part. I think the midfield three was working well. The attacking players were getting the ball in the right places. The defense, which has overall been solid, apart from a couple matches with a few mistakes, but they showed up as well. And then I think in the second half, the subs were really dynamic. I thought we saw some really interesting stuff from Yuseni Buda, who I think has really grown into his role and improved a lot, which is really cool and exciting.
Yeah, I thought he especially looked good on the wing. Buda was fantastic.
He was holding the ball up well. He was, making the right runs, making the right passes. In a really short amount of time, made a really big impact. And I think he's what kind of unlocked those additional goals in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being from Amal Pellegrino. I also thought Jackson Ricketts had a really strong impact, especially on that Pellegrino goal. He's a really dynamic attacking player.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, all the subs kind of came together really well. The last one that was interesting to me was Oscar Verhoeven, who we have, traditionally been thinking that he's a left back or a center back. But Bruce coming out in the press conference today and saying he sees him as a 6 or an 8. So that's something interesting to watch too. I think he did a solid job. Obviously, game state matters. Mm-hmm. This was a really a DC United team that was pretty demotivated by that point of the match. But I think the subs worked really well, and it was nice to see those two really strong performances.
And it's great to see the coach giving those players an opportunity to build their confidence in matches like this. When the team is already up by a number of goals, you put in some of those younger guys and kind of see what works. One thing that was interesting when I was chatting with Robert Jonas over in the press box during the match is he says this is one of those matches where the stakes are a little bit different because you're not playing a Western Conference opponent. So a win or a loss doesn't have the same impact. So, coming into the match, you might have a slightly different mentality in terms of how the result is going to impact you on the table, what the end result is and how that's going to impact you moving forward. So there is also that possibility that the Quakes came into this match knowing that they could try a couple different things. We saw 3 changes in the lineup in this match, and one of the big ones was actually in the attacking mid. We're going to go to a comment here from Brian Hoovler before we talk more about that. Brian, thank you so much for your $5 contribution to Quakes Epicenter. We really appreciate it, and it's always great to have you joining us every single time we're here live. Brian says, really fun win. Quakes did well to exploit DC in various ways. Subs were impactful, as you were just talking about, Ane. He says, unfortunately, Quakes still only looking okay against bad teams. Got to give us that last little bit in there, don't you, Brian? Every time. You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong about that last part. I will say though, when you put 6 goals against an opponent in MLS, that is saying a lot about your potential ability to do well against other teams in the league. But as Bruce said in the press conference, this matchup against LAFC next weekend is going to be really telling as to how good this team actually is. Mm-hmm. So one thing I want to talk about, Ane, changes that we saw from this team with having Nico Chikiris in the midfield, having another attack-minded central midfield player back in there. Something that the Quakes lost when Hernan Lopez went down with injury, and something that they gained back today with Nico Chikiris. So for one, we have the sort of tactical change, being able to rely on an attacking player in the central part of the field, distributing the ball to the different the attack, whether that's out on the wings or that's finding channels through the middle. One thing that I really appreciated about Nico Chikiris' individual effort today was how he sort of unlocked things using his lateral ability. I've mentioned this before, but basically what this means is that times we've seen this from Hernan Lopez, when the team needs to overload on a wing to create space in other parts of the field, this is something that Nico Chakiris did really effectively today. One moment that really stood out was in the 35th minute. This was actually in a counter-attacking opportunity. We saw Nico Chakiris carry the ball up the left wing and beat 2 defenders one-on-one, used his body to get past these players, drove into the box, and actually beat the defender on the dribble there as well. So the one ability is definitely something that's been missing from this team, right? As talented as a lot of these attacking players are on the squad, maybe Joseph Martinez does that a bit, Picho Rongo definitely that, but from the position that Nico Chakiris was playing, and I think that was something that was definitely missing that we didn't see from maybe like Harks or Bo LaRue, who's pretty good with his feet as well, but being able to take on a player the way that Nico Chakiris does, I just don't think we've seen that since Hernan.
I thought having that midfield three, something that you and Dax McCarty chatted about in that interview in our last episode. Dax brought up the fact that, you know, if he was to make an adjustment, it would be to play a midfield three instead of having just those two in the middle. I think that benefited the Quakes here, playing against DC United, who also had a midfield three. It kind of allows you not to get outnumbered in that area of the field. So I thought that went quite well. And credit to Bruce Arena for being able to make tactical changes like that and, you know, implement them in a positive and effective way, because it's not like it's not the most simple system that the Earthquakes are playing.
No, it's not.
He's playing a lot of guys on the pitch to their strengths, but this isn't like, you know, Christian Espinoza at wingback. That may have been concerning again under other coaches or in other systems in the league, but it's actually working really well right now. So that's a really positive adjustment, and I agree with you on him like unlocking a lot more of the attacking players on the outside.
So much credit to Christian Espinoza. I mean, throughout this match, I kept thinking to myself, how does he consistently find space bounding down? I think Robert is joining us here now. If you want to grab the door real quick, he's probably stuck outside the room. But hey, oh, maybe not. Okay, well, going back to my point, Christian Espinoza finding a ton of space on the right wing. It's just one of those things where like you think to yourself, how is this possible? He is the team's MVP, and yet he consistently manages to find that space. Oftentimes we saw the ball coming from the central mid positions up to Espinoza. There were a few instances in which we saw the center backs kind of unlocking Espinoza on the wing as well. But the fact that he can consistently do that in A is I think it's actually him this time. I think Sarah's going to grab it for
There
Hey, Robert, come on in. We're right in the middle of talking about Christian Espinoza. This is the perfect time for you to join. Yeah. So
don't fall.
All right, everybody, welcome Robert to the show. Robert Jonas is here.
Banging on the door there.
Robert, last person who spoke in the press conference, Christian Espinoza, I was just talking about how he consistently finds space on the wing and creates those opportunities, and how it almost becomes like, how do they continue to allow him to do this? We got another comment from Brian talking about, well, essentially DC United is not a very good team, and so the Quakes haven't really shown this against any solid team. So maybe we can kind of start there with you on your thoughts about how the Quakes handle DC United, and you know what it says about their capabilities this season, and basically your general thoughts about the match.
Yeah. I think Bruce said it well. You know, a 6-1 scoreline maybe flatters a little bit. You know, if it wasn't a Daniel double save to keep it at 3-1, maybe it's a little bit of a different situation. If DC is not sleepwalking for most of the first half, you know, maybe those opportunities aren't there. But I think overall, the Quakes rose to the occasion against a team traveling from the East Coast that wasn't playing very well. And their star got his goal, and there weren't too many other players around the field to dress themselves in glory today. And it was nice to see the Earthquakes take advantage of that. I think another thought I had, and you probably talked about this already, was, again, we're seeing, you know, in these first couple months of the season, you know, lineup shuffling, got guys coming in, guys coming out. We saw Oscar playing as a midfielder, and Bruce directly stated he's him as a midfielder. You know, that's the coach's wisdom right there to maybe put him in that place. You know, for Espinoza, and you know, this is something that I think we've seen throughout the season. You know, teams know he's the Quakes player. You know, he's been the Quakes player for a couple of years now. They can try to focus on him. It's maybe kind of an indirect effect of him playing wing back, but he's just got a lot of space to work with himself.
That's right.
You know, he doesn't have another another defender overlapping with him constantly and creating a sort of congestion on that wing. And to me, it's giving him flexibility to take on a single defender, occasionally has two defenders. He can make a quick pass because, again, there's going to be guys out of his area that I think have been quite helpful. And he said it. He's full of confidence right now. So I wanted to make sure I got that question in after Josef mentioned that, they sort of gave the penalty kick to Christian.
Yeah.
He said it. He was the one who wanted it because he felt he was in that confident moment right now, coming off a brilliant set piece where, again, he's feeling it and feels that his players are where they're supposed to be. That's going to be a big plus. So, overall, just another, sign of, why he is the Quakes' top player and the team captain right now, and a big part of today's victory.
Yeah. So the press conference actually took up a lot more time than we thought it was going to. I mean, but it was great, right? It was totally worth the time. So we probably don't have as much time to analyze the match as we normally do. Plus, this was the first time, Robert, where a show started and we were completely caught off guard by the fact that the press conference was ready to go. It was ready. So we actually started without the music and everything, just went right into the show. So we were kind of it's been chaotic. It's been chaotic, needless to say. So one thing that we wanted to make sure that we talked about before we go to our closing thoughts for the show today is the defensive tactical approach and the defensive alignment and shape that we saw during the match. So I think that would be a good place to take the conversation next. So with the three center back formation, with the wing backs and with the defensive midfielders, I'm just going to go right back to you here, Robert. What are some of your thoughts about what you saw from the defensive approach from the Quakes in this match?
I think it came up in the press conference, and I know you and I were talking about it during the game. DC could not find space between the lines. As much as they wanted to use the midfield, it really wasn't available to them. And it seemed like it was only until the second half that they started to use the wings more effectively. Vitor Costa started to look either a little tired or getting a little bit taken advantage of it on that wing as the second half rolled on. But the Quakes were like, "You want to come at us in the middle? Go right ahead. We're ready for you." Having three center backs, natural center backs playing in that position, I think was very helpful. Ian Harkes covers a lot of ground in that midfield.
Yeah.
He's able to get involved in a lot of plays. Mark Anthony Kay came in and did a reasonable job in that role as well. It allowed Nico to get a lot of space up top, which I think was important in a more attacking position, which again kept DC from gradually coming up the middle as well. So kind of speeding things up for a team like DC that just again didn't seem interested in playing with any sort of speed.
Yeah,
just made it that much easier for the Quakes to kind of collapse on the ball and stop that forward momentum. It was somewhere in the second half where the midfield, they started to make better runs off of passes, DC that is, and they started to catch the Quakes off guard with respect to getting inside the midfield line in front of the defense. But again, they still weren't creating anything that was going to put the Quakes in too much trouble. And again, I think that's a testament to the way the Quakes are keeping those lines tight and just really limiting the space.
That's the thing that I really picked up on is they were compact in the moments where they needed to be compact, and they were able to do it really quickly. And I thought that was quite impressive. Talking about Harkes and his role here, I actually really appreciated that he had some more positional integrity this match. I was so impressed by what he was able to do, being all over the pitch in the match against Seattle, but it did kind of feel like, okay, I think there's something kind of lacking in the organization defensively. Seattle only put one goal by the Quakes, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I thought allowing the team to maintain that defensive shape actually made them a lot stronger in the attack in this match. And so that's something I really appreciated from his performance, particularly. Ane, I'm curious about your thoughts about the defensive shape here and Bruce continuing to implement this 3-5-2 formation.
Yeah, I think having the three midfielders, they matched up quite well against DC United's three midfielders. And then, the three center backs have been solid the entire season, barring a few blips here and there. So I think it meshed quite well. I also thought Vitor Costa had a really good night or day after not being in the lineup very much. So positive there. And then, we know that Christian Espinosa is always going to put in a shift. So I credit to the defense and credit to Bruce for making those adjustments with the midfield. I thought it played out really nicely, and that too against he called it out himself in the press conference. The best striker in MLS, Christian Benteke. One of my friends pointed out to me it felt like every time he goes up for a 50-50 header, Benteke will win that. So there's a few situations.
Rodriguez. We saw that consistently during the match,
which is wild. But so a few instances where the Quakes needed to kind of collapse on Benteke and take care of that, and they did that well, I think, overall.
Yeah. All right. I think I only have one more talking point that I really wanted to make sure we discuss, because there's one player on this team who has consistently gotten a lot of flack from fans, largely for good reason, because of his performances throughout the season. But we saw him some of his potential out there today. He had a pretty solid performance. Of course, I'm talking about Amal Pellegrino coming in and having a much better all around than he's had throughout the season, finding passes, applying pressure, creating opportunities, and then of course in front of goal as well. So just your thoughts, Robert, about Amal Pellegrino's performance today and what was different compared to what we've seen in other parts of the season.
Yeah, I think that this was a good game for him too. I think that's an important. The opponents kind of set up nicely for Pele to be in the middle of the field, to be able to get a few passes, to have a little bit of time with the ball on his feet. Because I think that is one of the issues he has, is he's not going to take guys on. He's not going to do well in 50-50 situations, or at least we haven't seen a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so tonight, with DC again not playing very aggressive in their defensive line, it gave him a little bit of space to make passes, to make movement. It was a wonderful goal. He was all smiles after the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids with him down there in the tunnel, and he really seemed excited for the performance. And not a lot of non-smiles unless they were DC United players, which was to be expected, I suppose. It's one game, but again, an opponent that I think suited him nicely the way that second half was being put together. I do want to shout out to Nico Sierkiewicz. Again, I don't think I said enough about him in my recap, but I thought given that a little more free reign as more of a number 10, or at least playing more advanced as a midfielder, he looked very good today. He had some moves. He was getting some creativity. The Quakes were having a little bit of trouble with the final ball at times in the first half. Still got 3 goals, which is amazing. And Nico was a big part of that. He wasn't tracking back and playing defense, but the team was sort of set up with Bo LaRue cleaning up the mess, and Harks getting all over the place to keep that from being a problem. And that was great to see out of him as well, because Bruce leaned on a lot of young guys today too, and they played meaningful minutes and meaningful performances.
And it did feel like at times when they did have little small mistakes or turnovers and bad positions, because of the integrity of the tactics, like the formation and the shape, the Quakes were able to handle those situations pretty well during the match. Ane, your thoughts about Amal Pellegrino in this match?
Yeah, I thought a lot of the subs had a really good impact. It was nice to see Pellegrino get that goal, but yeah, I was really impressed with the way that the subs played together when they came on. Sometimes when you put a guy in here and there, it doesn't quite click. I thought Yuseni Buda, I want to call out his performance as well. He was really dynamic, and he hasn't always been that sort of deciding factor or X factor as a sub. So it was nice to see him kind of growing into this role and really improving a lot as well. Jamar Ricketts has been a really dynamic attacking player as well. Oscar Verhoeven got a few touches on the ball. And then, it all kind of came together. Pellegrino had some really quality moments, which we've seen over the past couple of years. We've seen flashes of brilliance here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to see him. He had a lot of goals last season that kind of flew under the radar. I think his sort of misses get brought up more so than that. But
that was the case.
Yeah. But it's nice to see him getting a goal and a lot of guys contributing. I thought Buda played really well on the wing, holding the ball up, some good interplay with Espinoza. Also creating some havoc up front as well.
Yeah, Buda had the glue on his boots tonight.
Yeah, man, that touch is incredible, isn't it? It was so good. Hey, here's one more thing I want to say about Pellegrino's performance, and that was his commitment to the press when DC United was trying to build out at the back, and that actually led to the goal that Joseph Martinez scored in the 80th minute. You have to give a lot of credit to Bruce Arena for instilling that into the players to continue to press like that this far into the match to create those opportunities. And they're already up by several goals, right? And they go and score another one. But I thought that was really great. That was a good moment from Pellegrino to win the ball from the defender and then put a spot on ball for Joseph Martinez to finish. So that was another really great moment.
Question for you guys. Is this the first Quakes hat trick since Wando did it against the
Chicago Fire?
I think it is. We were trying to figure that out down in the press box. We did get an answer for the last 6-goal game. So they beat Miami in 1999.
Yep.
There was an Open Cup victory in 2001, also 6-0. So there was a
Oh,
flip
so
in
there you go.
to competitive fixtures. But yeah, hat trick. It may have been the Wando 4-goal game. I can't remember a lot of positives in these last few seasons.
Yeah, that's true.
That was 6 years ago now.
Yeah. So
Oh my God, that was. I remember it like it was yesterday. Like it was raining. It was terrible, and it was. I didn't think that Wanda was actually going to do it that day. You know, it just didn't feel like one of those days. And then he just fired off 4 goals. I mean, just crazy.
Now we got Joseph Martinez on goal number 120.
I know, and he's 31 years old. He's going to turn 32 next month. I mean, there's time for him. There's more than enough time. I don't know if he's going to score another, 30 goals in a season like he did for Atlanta United, but the way things are going, he's definitely going to score some goals for this team.
Yeah, one thing, speaking of goals and speaking of performances, Christian said it tonight when asked a little bit about comparing to last year, and he did bristle. You can see him, like physically, he was like, "I don't like this."
I don't want to talk about that.
And but I think it's a fair point to not have to talk about last season. This team is not last year's team,
right?
And they weren't organized defensively. There was a moment in the first half, in fact, before one of the goals, where DC had a chance at a fast break. And players got back into defense and then organized into position, snuffed out of the DC attack, and then the ball was back to the Quakes, and they were scoring a few minutes later or moments later.
Moments later.
That's not last year. That was not a last year team. That's a this year team. The confidence for players to start to trust each other in ways in the offensive third is not something we saw in last year's team.
Yeah.
I mean, Espinosa, I think, is very much aware of that. Guys, he is expected to get the ball in places, and guys are expected to be there to get to that ball. Was not something we were seeing at this time last year. So a lot has changed. When the question was asked about, what's different than last year, I don't think he knew where to start because he would have taken the rest of the afternoon. To
Exactly.
Say,
yeah, that's such a challenging question to answer.
Whether it be the training, whether it be the player support, whether it be the way the coaching is interacting with players, so much is different. And I see a game like tonight or this afternoon as, one of those, kind of ceiling games where this is the kind of performance you can see the Quakes do. I don't know if they'll do it every week for you, but this was the kind of performance against a team they should be beating, honestly, and did a very good job at it. And those are the games that get you in the mix. Those are the games that get you above, 9th place, 8th place.
Yeah.
Maybe host a playoff game.
That would be nice.
That'd be interesting. We're a long way away. Bruce looks at seasons and segments, and he's still in the let's get to know this team and let's try things out. And as we get into the summer, you'll see things solidify. And so for the stretch run, and I'm really encouraged to see that kind of mix up today lead to that kind of performance. There didn't seem to be a lack of cohesion in many aspects of it, many facets of the game tonight.
All right, I want to go to a couple of comments that were made here. Let's see. We've got this one already. John J. John, thank you so much for your $1.99 contribution to Quakes Epicenter. He says, I hope the 352 is here to stay. I'm right there with you. Actually, that was one of the things I was going to talk about in my closing thoughts, but I'll go ahead and talk about it right now. One thing I love about this is you have 3, as Robert said, natural center backs in this formation. And I think that makes it so much better when you have guys who are comfortable playing in that position and can make the necessary adjustments defensively as center backs when needed. But here's what I like particularly about this 3-5-2 setup is you have 3 center backs who have different attributes that complement each other really well. I'm thinking particularly of Romney's positional integrity, his willingness you saw today to get back on the counterattack and prevent DC from scoring. I thought that was really impressive from Romney. Not a perfect performance, but I thought he was great out there for the most part. With Bruno Wilson, you get somebody who is really great with his feet. He distributes the ball well. He makes good choices. He always seems settled, and he brings a ton of aggression when needed. That's one thing I love about Bruno Wilson. He always goes out there and gives it his all. And then lastly, Rodriguez, the wrecking ball of the 3 center back crew. I mean, just so much fun to watch. There was a really scary moment tonight when he hit his head twice, going up to try to win the ball and then slammed his head on the turf on the way down. And I really thought he was going to be pulled from the match at that point. But, they had the physios down there. They checked up on him. He ran back and forth on the side of the field, and he came right back into the game. And thankfully, the most important thing is that he is okay. And so it's great to have all these different aspects of the defense that complement each other so well for a 3-5-2 setup. So, John, thank you for the comment. I am right there with you. And then we have another one here from Nikki Bacosa. Sorry, it's hard to read the names from way back here. And also, I wanted to say thanks, folks, for dealing with the setup today. I know it's a little bright and hard to see, and we're actually using the MacBook microphone rather than the microphones that we used the last time. So thanks for hanging in there with us. Nikki says, cheers to the amazing game result today and appreciate the Aftershock show, especially to watch right after the game. And a $4.99 contribution from Nikki. Thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us after the games, Nikki. We're really glad that we can continue to bring you this content right here from PayPal Park. Okay, so I think we can go to the final segment of the show, guys, because we're right at an hour. Ane, we're going to go over to you first. Your closing thoughts as the Quakes head into their next match on April 12th against LAFC.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a big opportunity for the Quakes to really take it to the next level. They've already had a couple good road performances, the star one being against Sporting Kansas City. But obviously, every time you play LA, haven't played LA this season, but it's a great opportunity to make a statement. They're kind of in the same position in the table. Obviously, it's still early on, but that's always going to be a tough place to play. I think a lot of really good adjustments were made in this match, and there was a lot of promising stuff from the substitutions. And we have to always take it with a pinch of salt because this is a DC United team that played pretty poorly today, quite frankly. It's obviously a road match for them on the opposite coast, so it's a challenging one for them. But these are the sorts of games the Quakes need to win at home. This is an important thing. They gotta keep building momentum and make this a really difficult place for other teams to play on the road if they want to host a home playoff match. And I think they've dropped a few points here early on to teams that maybe they should be getting results against. But it's good to see them making progress. And again, I also love the fact that it's a celebration of the 30 years of MLS. A lot of really good talk about that leading up to the match and from Bruce in the press conference in Phil's interview with Dax McCarty in the previous episode as well. So that's always something really cool we get to do here in San Jose is celebrate how much this club has been a part of the history of this league and soccer in this country as well. So excited for LAFC, who our Casey Kasliner will be at live from BMO Stadium.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it still BMO Stadium? I thought
I took a shot.
It's well, it was a good shot. I think it is. Anyway, it's the one that's right next to the Coliseum, right? So Casey's right over there in that neck of the woods, so it's perfect for him.
It feels like a great opportunity for the Earthquakes. LAFC's got Miami again next week. The second leg of their CONCACAF Champions Cup. They're not going to look past the Earthquakes, but they may have some players that aren't necessarily going to go all out or put themselves in a situation when they know they've got that very important game midweek. So the Earthquakes got that intangible quotient of confidence running high right now. No better time to head down to an opponent like LAFC, which will be a challenge regardless of their mindset, and see if they can apply that confidence strongly. I want to kind of tag on to what Ane was saying there about the support we get. I had two different people take selfies with me today.
Yeah.
I just want to encourage our fans. If you're a listener of the show, if you see us down there, if you demand more of us, if you want more photos with us, I did wash my hair today, so I thought I looked pretty good. Hopefully the kids will enjoy those. So yeah, we love saying hello out on campus,
absolutely.
So don't be shy.
Yeah, that's happening a lot more often.
It's cool. And thank you so much for
really
stopping and saying hello. It's
the
greatly
interactions are
appreciated.
fantastic. So.
Yeah, because sometimes we don't know. We just put content out there, and then it's like, well, do people like it? What do they think of us? We have no idea. So it's really great they hate us. No, it's great to stop and have a conversation with folks, and just a reminder that we're just like people. We're just you're probably used to seeing us in this little box, and it's it's nice for us to be able to humanize ourselves, and we go out and have conversations with you. So
we're rock stars. Come on.
Oh my God.
Everyone kind of has their own story of how they started supporting this team or coming to matches. Yeah. It's been 50+ years now, so I think we get a really wide variety in each era. The Quakes have added new fans, so that's always been really cool.
Yeah, speaking of which, I ran into Ned Zaparco, who's been a fan, a supporter of the team for a really long time. Going back to, as far as I know, and Ned's story, you probably know more than I do, Robert, because you know who I'm speaking of. But he was around in '96 when the team came into the league. Even before that, when they were planning to come into the league, when MLS was just a kind of a idea, right, during the World Cup years during 1994. And it was cool because I met Ned out there today, and he showed me some memorabilia that he had from back in '96 during that first match. One of them was a T-shirt that he had. It's the actual giveaway T-shirt. I'm going to ask Sarah to post this on her Instagram, so make sure you follow Sarah because she takes all the pictures for Quakes Epicenter. Yeah. She's Sarah Nicole Mindful Photography. If you look that up on Instagram, you will find her. But there's a picture of Ned and I together, and I'm holding up the first giveaway shirt ever for the San Jose franchise in the MLS era, and it's signed by Eric Winalda. So that was really cool. And then he's got an original Clash scarf too. So we'll make sure to get that up on Instagram so folks can see that, and that'll be on the Quakes Epicenter account as well. All right, any further thoughts, Robert? Since you have the floor there.
Just I'm going to shout out a quick or last shout out for Daniel. I think this was another example of the goalkeeper that we saw a couple of years ago that seemed to be struggling with his injuries last year, but seems a lot more stable this year. Bruce said it. I think we all know it. A healthy Daniel, an engaged Daniel, and making those kinds of consistent saves makes us a playoff level team.
Yeah.
And the Quakes will need that if you can play amongst the best in the league. That's going to be a major boost to this. And so confidence on the attacking side today for sure. But we saw a few fist pumps from Daniel and those saves he was making, especially in the second half.
Yes.
When things could have gotten out of hand, he was able to keep the 2-goal lead intact and set it up for those last 3 goals to put this game away. So shout out to Daniel and the work he's been doing to really back up the backstop in this team.
That's great. I love that reference to the fist pumping too. So that's going to be the last thing that I wanted to talk about is in addition to the prowess, the clinicality, well, for the most part, right? There were some missed chances, but for the most part, right? Especially Joseph Martinez and scoring his hat trick today. I mean, just unbelievable. I mean, it was, yeah, I know, right? Let's be real. But in addition to all of that, in addition to the aggression and controlling the game and controlling the tempo of the game and doing well on the counterattacks, there was a lot of joy out there today. And that is a good sign. That is a sign of a good team. Yeah. From Daniel fist pumping to the defenders making plays to prevent DC United from getting into the attack, to the attacking players and their celebrations and the families being there and Chicho celebrating with his wife and kids, like all of that coming together and seeing that on the field. So that might be something you don't see as much if you're watching the game on TV, but we definitely saw it here at the stadium, and it was felt like it was palpable and just good vibes all around. So I did want to make sure I mentioned that on the way out. We do have at least one more comment here that I wanted to highlight before we close out the show. This is from Martin or Martin. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Moss. Hard to believe we scored 6 mid-table now. Well, there you go. 6 goals, first time since 1999 in league play. That is definitely a new thing for us. As you know, I've only been watching the Quakes regularly since 2009, so this is definitely before my time. But a big deal. Yeah. Any other thoughts, guys?
Everyone's happy today.
Good vibes.
Yeah.
Great vibes at PayPal Park.
And then if you want to take care of the production duties at the end here as I close us out. So make sure you check out Quakes Epicenter. I know it's a little awkward. Make sure you check out quakesepicenter.com. That's where you can find information about our organization, what we do, and when we cover the earthquakes, you can find information about the Aftershock, Colin Etneyer's salary spreadsheet, and a lot of other great stuff that's located on there. But especially want to encourage all of you to follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, and we are on Blue Sky. Make sure you follow us on all of those platforms so that you can continue the conversation with us. Check out our Patreon, which is accessible through our website. For $5 a month, you can get access to the Patreon Quakes Epicenter Slack, where you can chat with us throughout the week and during the matches and get a lot of really cool, insightful information about the team. We have a great group of patrons who have a ton of experience over the years watching this team, supporting this team, coming out to the games. And so I encourage you to check out our Patreon. It doesn't have to be $5 a month, but that will give you access to the Quakes Epicenter Slack, where you can join the conversation. And Sam, thank you for your $1.99 contribution. Big up for Ned. Have a pic of him with the shirt. I think Ned Zaparko is very well loved among the Quakes fan base. And Ned, thank you so much for the show. It was great to meet you today. For Robert Jonas and for Sarah, my wife, and for Anay Patel, I want to say thank you all for joining us. Phil Leba. We'll see you guys next time right here on the Aftershock. Turn on those notifications so you know when we come on, and make sure to like and subscribe right here on YouTube. We'll see you next time.